On today's show, Avengers Endgame runtime is currently at 3 hours. World War Z 2 has no runtime. And does Henry Cavill really demand brown M&Ms in the green room during the set while they're filming Superman 2? All that and more in today's Collider Movie Talk. Guys, there's rumors of demands, and we're shooting them down here left and right today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Collider Movie Talk. I am merely Mark Ellis. These two love themselves some frozen food. Haleigh Foutch and John Rocha. One loves oatmeal, one loves rice, but they both demand it from their grocer's freezer, incidentally. Rocha, you are enjoying the new domesticity life, living with your lady.
Yeah.
And you guys went shopping last night to Trader Joe's, and it was a new experience.
It was. There's a line, there's a song in Aladdin, A Whole New World. I'm really living in a whole new world. Apparently, I was eating all the wrong food for the last 30 years. That's been corrected quickly, and I got the text. Apparently, our 2 rugs have arrived. Oh, domesticity, how great this is.
Isn't that nice? I always, miss the text right before you go to air. Like, oh, there's a fire I'm going to put out in 45 minutes that I was not aware of previously. Haleigh Foutch, are you also a Trader Joe's fan? We have a lot of them here in Southern California.
Yeah, I grew up in Southern California. It's my staple. I'm a cliche.
That's right.
What do you
tend
want?
to shop at Whole Foods, but as
we're not all super rich.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
When you go to, you use your little Amazon Prime thing, they scan it, they say, we saved you $18. And I'm like, it still doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter. What does matter? The runtime of Avengers Endgame, because it's currently at 3 hours. Now, you may be checking your calendar and say, but the movie's not coming out for another couple months. You're right. It comes out at the end of April. However, the Russo brothers have said that they're pretty much done with the film. They've been screening at test audiences. Yes, some people have been test audience. How do you win that lottery? They've gotten to see it. It's getting rave reviews. However, that 3 hour runtime may not quite stick because the Russo brothers said that while they were deep into the process, they are not finished with all the shots. They're not finished with all the cuts. But Disney, their bosses, has said that, look, if you like your 3 hour runtime and we think it's going to pack an emotional punch, which is why the Russo brothers want it to be that long, we're finishing 22 movies here. We better give us some runtime. Disney's cool with that, releasing in theaters with 3 hours. So the question on the table is, will the dollar signs indicate this is a 3 hour movie? Will that turn some fans off? Will you be able to screen the movie less than a normal 2:15 runtime, which is what we've been accustomed to with Marvel movies? But I will note, it seems like every MCU movie that's come out recently has a slightly longer runtime. They feel like a batter who got to first base successfully is now inching towards second base. And with Avengers Endgame, Rocha, they may be stealing it, because 3 hours is a beefy runtime.
Yeah.
I am all in for it because I agree with the Russo brothers. We've been waiting for this film for 10 years. We didn't know we were waiting for it all 10 years, but this is a decade in the making. 3 hours is totally cool.
Yeah, you know what? The incredible thing about the Russo brothers is they keep upping the ante, right? Hey, you think we can't put 15 superheroes into a film? Boom, airport scene. Can't do 35? Boom, universe galaxies. Oh, 3 hours? Boom! Like, it's amazing to me how Joe and Anthony are not overwhelmed by the task at hand and bringing this universe to life, like kind of bringing this spaceship back into port, landing this thing and going like, you know what? We did what we did. We're out. So I respect the fact that Disney's going to let them do this. We've seen films that are 3 hours long do $1 billion at the box office. Titanic won a Best Picture in '97 doing that. It was 3 hours long with no intermission. We saw recently Inglourious Bastards had an intermission. People still went to see that. I think it's with something like this, and remember the last one was 2 hours and 40 minutes, if I'm correct, Avengers Infinity War. So you look at this, you go, look, what's an extra 20 between friends? We've been through 22 films. What's an extra 20 minutes? I think walking out of Endgame, I could have watched another 20 minutes of that film. So to me, this excites me. It makes me happy because I'm a film lover and I want to spend as much time as possible in the MCU with the Russo brothers. I don't want an intermission. I want to explore that world and stay in that world for the full 3 hours and see how they finish out the series.
Yeah, Haleigh,
or at least this version.
The question of an intermission that Rocha brings up is very interesting to me because I think on the one hand, my bladder would certainly prefer an intermission. However, if we're already talking about a 3 hour runtime and how that may have to cut some screenings at theaters, what would an intermission do to that? Would it actually help the theater chains? Because when you get an intermission, you may relieve yourself. You may also go get another popcorn, another soda, more candy, a hot dog to emotionally digest what you just saw on screen. So I think in a way, intermissions could help theater chains.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think realistically, it doesn't matter if this film is 3 hours long for the theater chains. They'll book it into as many theaters as they need to. That's more of a bummer for other films that might get kicked out because there are less screening slots available.
It's a great point. The middle class really gets squeezed out once Endgame arrives.
Well, actually, a film that I really loved last year, The Endless, basically that happened because Marvel bumped the release date up a week. They lost a ton of their theaters. So that does happen, and that's unfortunate. But I don't think it matters at all for Endgame. They're gonna book up every theater with that. Every fan's, of course, going to go see it. Nobody's going to be turned off by 3 hours. Nobody cares at this point. And in terms of intermission, I wouldn't want that in this particular movie. You look at Hateful Eight, it's a very theatrical film. It feels like a stage play in a lot of ways. And an intermission works there. Obviously not knowing what Endgame is, I don't think I would like that action broken up in the middle in that way.
Yeah, it would be kind of jarring to see whatever's unfolding. And again, the Russo brothers, like Haleigh pointed out, maybe didn't direct this film in the same style as Tarantino, knowing going in that there's going to be an intermission. So how do you cut it? It's like sometimes when you're watching a YouTube vid and all of a sudden it cuts off because, and at 25 minutes, we're giving you an ad. It doesn't matter if it's mid somebody's sentence or if it's mid music, whatever it is, you get your intermission. Rocha, are you personally, as a theater goer, in for an intermission if we can slice it up a little tidier than, say, what we got with Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
No, I'll be honest with you. I don't want an intermission. I'm in Haleigh's camp. I think this film was made not to have an intermission. To take me out of the world when already we are recovering from half the galaxy dying and being turned to dust, I want to stay in this whole thing and get to the end as quickly as possible. If you're delaying me by 15 minutes so that all our friends could go to the bathroom or whatever and come back with drinks, I don't want, or start talking about it, or you know what's going to happen. You go out in that theater and people are going to start theorizing about what the second half of the movie is going to be, and I don't want a damn thing ruined. I just want to sit and watch the movie all the way to the end. So that's the danger in an intermission like this. But you look at Ben-Hur, you look at these other classic films that had intermission, West Side Story, like that, you weren't like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. Is he going to get crucified or not? That's not the same thing. There's so much more involved here that I think if you have an intermission, you could lose the vibe of the film, and that's really the most important thing.
I don't know if we've ever said this before, so somebody time code this. Rocha, I think you won me over. Because what you said, what you're implying is that there's going to be people after the first few screenings that have seen Avengers Endgame. And there's going to be a lot of people that still have not seen it. Right. So now, if there's an intermission, you're funneled back out into the lobby. You're basically doubling your chances of hearing somebody talk about it. Yep. Remember, in Force Awakens, everybody trying to avoid. I don't want to hear anything. I'm blasting my earbuds, and you can still hear, oh, this character dies. I don't want to have that happen in Avengers Endgame. Now, having said that, there's no rule that says when a theater or a movie has an intermission, you have to leave the screening room. True. But people get on their phones. For me, I love the theater going experience, and I love when a movie can shut everybody up in the first 5 seconds, and now you're locked in. You're not thinking about your phone. You're not talking to your friend. You're just focused on the screen. So to give audiences even the option, the thought in the back of their head of, oh, let me check Twitter. Let me see what's going on. Let me Facebook my friend. Let me post this on Instagram. I do not want that kind of environment. I want everybody locked in. If we got an hour to go, let's keep going down that hour. If you're like me and you got to pee, just try to time it. That's part of the movie magic, is that you try to time it when you think you have a minute to go, and then you can get back before you miss any major plot point. It's a challenge to me. It's a challenge to y'all, but I think it's a challenge worth taking. And I do think that in the long run, despite the fact that a lot of people may go reload their concessions during an intermission, I think it's going to help theater chains in the long run if you get more screenings that are less time. So 3 hours, Avengers Endgame, we're all in for it.
Yep. Absolutely.
That is good to hear, because I think that's why it's probably,
we're not getting an intermission.
We're not going to get an intermission, so get ready. And I see a number of people in the chat room already saying, just bring a catheter. Like, I get the joke, but are we really going to swing by a medical supply place on the way? Like, we're missing the trailers. Can we hurry up back there? All right, let's talk about that other side of the comic book movie landscape, and that would be the DC Extended Universe. Now, there were some reports that surfaced yesterday that the reason why we haven't gotten a Man of Steel 2 movie, much to Mark Riley's chagrin, is the fact that Henry Cavill has demands that he previously did not. And those demands include a producer credit and the right of first refusal when it comes to who's directing him in the movie and who is writing his lines, few though they may be based on the first Man of Steel, in the sequel. And those rumors have been debunked by the team at Warner and DC. They're saying that these are patently inaccurate. There's no truth to this whatsoever. And this is Henry Cavill's team denying these now. Last September, THR reported that Henry Cavill was parting ways, and then that also got squashed. So, Haleigh, it's been a lot of he said, she said, and now it's been a lot of here's the rumor, and then now we get a statement from either Warner or Henry Cavill's team debunking it, but they haven't really come out and said anything to the positive of, no, Henry's definitely making a new Superman movie. They're just on the defensive right now. When a rumor comes out, they swat it down, and I think everybody's getting a little tired of it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's, I guess that's sort of a symbol of the whole DCEU for the last year or so, is a lot of guesswork and then rumors being shot down, what's actually happening. And I would think that, like all those other movies, that this probably isn't ready to go yet, which is why we have this delay. And whatever deals need to be made behind the scenes, it's clear that Henry Cavill wants to continue doing this. He keeps Instagramming Superman stuff. Like, he's game. So it's just, maybe they don't have the right script, the right filmmaker, but it's, the whole DCEU thing right now, like, I love that they're taking it more one movie at a time, because this stuff is exhausting.
It really is. And Rocha, I could even argue that I think that the unknown status of Man of Steel 2, which I now want to call Man of Stew, I think that it actually indicates health in the future of DC and their movie properties based on comic books, because they don't know what to do with Superman. Why? Because they have all these other properties that are burgeoning, that people are excited about. You have these independent-style films like The Joker. You have a movie like Birds of Prey, where we're not sure where it's going to figure into the larger landscape. We have Matt Reeves as the Batman. You have Suicide Squad 2. All of a sudden, everybody's excited about that because James Gunn's directing it. We have Aquaman making $1 billion. Shazam's coming out. So it's maybe not the fact that, Henry doesn't want to do it. It's just that the fact that we have this mainstay from the beginning of Zack Snyder's DCU, and we don't know where to put him because we're having success with these other movies.
Right. I think that's one of the reasons, and that this situation is happening the way it's happening, because they don't know what to do with him. They know Cavill is a good actor. He's got great responses on social media and with the work he's done. Look at him. Everyone's excited for him on The Witcher. This gets him more. I love how he loves to play social media. Like you said, pictures of himself recently working out next to a Superman statue. You're like, what are you doing? I thought you were out. Now it seems like you're back in. And there's two things that occurred to me as I was reading this story. One, this could be like what we've seen in sports when an athlete is leaving a team. The team tries to talk a little crap about them as they're leaving, so it makes them look a little more tarnished before he's a diva. We had to get rid of him. He was too much. He didn't want to be part of the new DCEU. And then my response is, I would love it if he demanded producer credit, script approval, and director approval. You know why? Because as Mark said at the beginning, he's been waiting since the first Man of Steel movie for them to do something with him where he's the star again. He wasn't even the star of his own technical sequel, Batman vs. Superman. That was Batman and Affleck. And Cavill has taken control of this narrative. So respect to him and his team for being like, no, you're not going to push me around like you did with Affleck and me in or out. I'm going to play you. You're not going to play me. And his team pushing back on that playlist report, saying that he was demanding all this concept. They're like, this is ridiculous. There's no truth to it at all. And it feels to me like this is going to maybe end up with either him getting another movie on his terms, or a kind of messy breakup where both people accuse the other of being divas.
But let's be honest, when we look at this on its ear, we want to believe whatever Henry Cavill's saying, because we like Henry Cavill. Yeah. It was awesome when he double reloaded the guns in Mission Impossible, and he was a very good Man of Steel. But you're right, he got shoehorned into his own sequel way too quickly when they were trying to compete with Marvel for, hey, look at the team up we can have. And I think that if you greenlit a Man of Steel 2, that would show me that DC is still feeling a little squirrely about where their future is. Now they know where their future is. They're just trying to wedge Superman into it. And I'd much rather have that scenario than I would having a Superman movie and then trying to figure out where do we wedge all these other movies into that. So I think that if you had to take one or the other, and again, apologies to all you Superman fans, Mark Riley, Christian Harloff, I know y'all are watching. I know you want a Man of Steel 2. Let's wait, because I think with these other DC movies, they may be able to set up a better film than we would have gotten today, a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, when we were initially talking about when is he going to get his proper due. I think it's on its way. It's just going to take a lot longer than we maybe expected. Do you guys believe we're going to see Henry Cavill in Man of Steel 2, or do you think that it's possible that we just recast Superman and it's going to be further down the line? Because remember, there is a Supergirl movie that is in development right now.
I certainly hope that we will, but it is, again, like I was saying, all these things are so unknown right now. The format and structure of the DCEU is evolving right now so much that it's really, I find it a very hard thing to actually predict with any say-so. Especially when we just saw that, Affleck is out and they are going with a new, younger Batman. So if they want to brush off that whole first part, we might not get that. But I hope that's not the case. I think everybody wants him to come back. And I think that there's room for both. You can have your separate Batman movie. I don't care. Put Cavill in an alternate universe and be like, this is a different Superman played by the same guy. It doesn't matter. Just make it good.
Yeah, it is a lot easier to write in and out a Superman because Superman can fly. And I'm not talking like Batman Fly, which is like stumble elegantly down a building. Superman can fly from planet to planet, galaxy to galaxy. He can go anywhere, and then he can come back when it's convenient.
Right. And, they already killed him off once, so to me, I would love to see him come back 1,000%. I love Man of Steel. 2 pieces. It just dropped on Netflix recently, so I watched it again because I hadn't seen it in quite some time, and he's so marvelous in the role for me as a new and different Superman. To not bring him back would be a shame and a crime. That being said, it seems to me like DC is trying to find, yet again, with another one of these people from the Zack Snyder era, a kind of like easy, painless way to make this separation happen, rather than just pulling the Band-Aid off and be like, you know what, no, we're moving on, we're going to recast a new Superman. Look at the reaction to the new Batman. Yes, people are like, oh, it's a shame Affleck didn't get his own film. Who's going to play him now? That's exactly what's going to happen. If they do this correctly, I think we want to thank Cavill. It was incredible, Man of Steel. We didn't do right by him possibly with Superman. We will get it right this time. Thank you for your service. Boom, you're done. And that way Cavill can walk away being like, okay, you know what? They at least made it up to me to a degree. It's not my fault. I can roll on to the next project. They'll find a new, younger Superman. It just makes all kinds of sense to make the move now.
I'm going to do y'all a favor because I know you guys love this game, and I know everybody out there in the chat room loves to play along. I'm putting you in the theater. I'm putting you in the multiplex.
Okay.
Avengers Endgame is not playing. There is no intermission. What you can go see is any film that is in any stage of development right now from the good people at DC, Warner, in this universe. So you can go see Shazam. It's going to be out in a few weeks. You can go see Wonder Woman 1984. You'll see Birds of Prey, the Joker movie, Matt Reeves' Batman, or Man of Steel 2. Anybody going to Man of Steel 2? How high on your priority list would it be?
If they announced it, it'd be at the top.
With Henry Cavill.
With Cavill, it'd be at the top of my list. If they announced it.
The very top.
The very top, yes. Above everything else. Because I love Man of Steel. And I would love for him to have one more shot at it without being crowded in by other heroes and without being shoehorned into his own sequel. I would love it. Right below it, the Joker movie. Absolutely.
Okay, so Haleigh, Rocha's going in to see Man of Steel 2, subtitle Superman versus Aquaman.
Damn it.
Walking with Rocha into Man of Steel 2, or do you got some other movies you're waiting to see more?
This is tricky because a lot of these projects are already either made or being made, and so my interest goes to Man of Steel 2 because it's the wild card, and I'm like, I'm going to go see that because it might never exist.
The grass is always greener.
So I'm walking in with Rocha, and then I guess the one that does exist that most pertains to my interest is definitely Birds of Prey. I can't wait to see what that's all about.
I am seeing some Birds of Prey. I'm seeing Francisco Ariola says Aquaman 2. That's what he's waiting for Aquaman 2. Sorry, it's not. I guess we kind of know there's going to be a sequel.
Yeah.
Of course there is.
Yeah, of course.
But I haven't heard as many official things, and there's definitely not as many rumors and rumblings as we get with Man of Steel 2. So I can't send you that one right now, Francisco. Tristan says Suicide Squad 2. Sky Patterson, our good friend, going to see Man of Steel 2. A lot of people is showing out for Henry right now, and a lot of people are saying we're going to see Man of Steel 2 over any other movie in development. The name I'm not seeing a lot on here yet, Batman.
Yeah.
Not seeing a lot of Matt Reeves' Batman.
Maybe people are burnt out on the bat for the moment, considering all the drama. That'll change by the time it comes out.
We get a casting announcement.
Yeah.
And given Matt Reeves' recent history, maybe just announce Andy Serkis is playing Batman. And we can all get very excited about that.
I did forget about Suicide Squad with James Gunn. That actually might be the one that I'm most interested in.
That's going over Birds of Prey for you.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, okay.
I just, after everything that went down, and I want to see how he does a whole different ensemble of weirdos and how he makes it different from Guardians and brings his spin on it. I mean, obviously it's going to be inherently different than Guardians, but I love that he's doing another ensemble with these oddball characters.
Yeah, from an artistic standpoint, I agree with you that it's exciting. It's not at the top of my list, but it is a point to note. And Rocha, as the big sports fans that we are, there's nothing like seeing a good revenge game after somebody gets benched unceremoniously or throws a few picks. You want to see what they do the next weekend with James Gunn. I'm not saying it's in the front of his mind when he's got the computer open at Starbucks writing this movie, but maybe it's back there somewhere, just making those fingers go a little bit faster.
It has to be.
Yeah.
You can't feel good about any of that.
Oh, there's going to be some. I think Perry or Amy said it this morning. There's going to be some meta jokes in there about Marvel somehow.
I look forward to the Collider's video Easter egg. Maybe it's going to be on Collider Quick, where it's like, how many times did James Gunn reference his unceremonious firing from Guardians of the Galaxy 3? And poor Riley's just watching that movie over and over and over again, taking
trying
notes.
to catch it.
Well, before we get to that, we do have a movie that's coming out this weekend in theaters, and we are delighted to offer perhaps you, the person I'm looking at right now, an invitation to the IMAX headquarters tonight to go catch Alita Battle Angel. Now, if you look at your watches, local time, it's 4:20, so, well, that's a good time for everybody, isn't it? You can go see Alita Battle Angel. Maybe it's better after you 4:20. You can wait in line. There's a standby line going on right now at IMAX headquarters. It is, I believe, in Culver City. You know what? I'm just going to read you the address because this is how we do things around here. 12582 West Millennium Drive, Los Angeles, California. 90094 is where you can get in the standby line to see Alita Battle Angel. I'm hearing good things about this movie from a cinematic standpoint. Christian said he dug it, but he really liked the movie making aspect of it on the big screen, so it might be worth checking out. This is hosted by our own Stephen Frosty Weintraub, and he's going to have an exclusive Q&A afterwards with producer John Landau. So sounds pretty cool. If you're in that area, go get in the line right after you finish watching us here at Collider Movie Talk. Alita Battle Angel is in theaters this weekend. What's not going to be for some time, maybe ever, is World War Z 2. And I'm bummed because I'm excited about this movie. And then Twitter, doing the good deeds that Twitter does on a daily basis, reminded me that not only were we getting a sequel to the Brad Pitt zombie movie, we were also getting David Fincher directing it. And that's why, at least as of right now, the movie has been scrapped during pre-production. They could not agree with Fincher on a number of different topics, is what it looks like. And this is from a report in the playlist Paramount, and David Fincher not seeing eye to eye, particularly over budgetary concerns. The shoot was going to be in 5 different countries. It's going to be a 6-month shoot in Atlanta. They're saying that it's budget, but it might be that David Fincher had a budget that was like way over the number, like an already high number of around 190 million, as some reports having, is that it was way over that. So it's a lot of money to spend, even on a pretty successful franchise, given that it's one movie and it came out 6 years ago and it's going to be an R-rated film. So you can throw all the Brad Pitts in there you want. That's an expensive undertaking, regardless of what the project is named or who's involved. So John Rocha, the question is now, are we ever going to get a World War Z 2 movie? Because some reports are saying that it's conceivable that they could just bring in another director. And we've seen this before where a studio it doesn't see eye to eye with a big name director, so they bring in somebody that maybe they can control a little bit more and keep under budget. Is that the way to do World War Z 2, or do you scrap it all together?
I'm looking forward to Ron Howard's World War Z 2. I want to see what that looks like, I'll be honest with you. No. I would be surprised if it happens. I don't see buzz for this. I don't see buzz for people who thoroughly enjoyed that first one, want to see a sequel. I don't think it's this overwhelming buzz, a zombie wall, so to speak, wanting to see this. So I would not be surprised if this never happens. It's been 6 years. So to me, I think this would have happened by now. This feels like a Don Quixote situation, which will never just see the light of day. There were rumors, though. It was Eric Davis at Fandango tweeted that he heard there's a possibility that a Mad Max sequel could be in play to replace this situation. So that would be exciting. I think this is smart all around for Universal. Look, they saw how Bumblebee didn't quite perform as well as they'd liked. They had a bit of an uneven year. Some positive things, Mission Impossible. Some other things not so. So they're like, you know what? If it's north of $190 million with a sequel, David Fincher, who's not really known for blowing up the box office, and Brad Pitt, I wouldn't take a chance either. This Fox-Disney merger makes a lot of studios hesitant to be taking bigger shots at these kinds of projects that don't have as much buzz as other projects. Yeah, more on that Fox-Disney merger in just a few minutes. But in the meantime, Haleigh, as a horror fan, where do you rank World War Z 1, and where would you put its expectations as far as audience interest for a sequel?
It's fine. World War Z one is fine.
You sound thrilled about it.
It's fine. It's a fine movie. I love the book that it's based on, and it's nothing like that. It was a very troubled production, famously. It had a lot of issues along the way. This one seems to be following suit in that tradition. I don't know about interest in World War Z specifically. I think the more interest was in a big budget David Fincher zombie movie, which I am devastated that we're not going to get. And David Fincher needs to start making some compromises, because this is like his third project now that's just been done. It's over. And you only got so much time, David. I want more of your movies. Make them happen.
It wasn't just a David Fincher zombie movie. It was David Fincher and Brad Pitt reteaming again. So I think there was a lot of fan interest there, maybe more so than with the fact it's a sequel to a movie that we thought was fine 6 years ago.
I don't think World War Z is a franchise name that's like has to be made for the studio. I think that if they can find a director who wants to come in and do it for half the budget or whatever, then maybe they will, because despite the fact that the first one was kind of a mess that they had to string together to make it work, it did make a lot of money. And, there is brand recognition, maybe not the biggest, but if you can do it for a reasonable budget, I can see why they would move forward with it eventually. But I'm just heartbroken over the David Fincher zombie movie thing. That's a mess.
I just want to see the storyboards that they had for this movie, and I want to see if they had a money shot that was akin to the zombie wall, because I really thought that was a cool. I think that got a lot of butts in seats in the first one, because it was in all the trailers and all the ad material. You saw this wall of zombies. Do you think that they had anything like that? I mean, you do wonder because every studio has this machine, this computer they can plug stuff into and say, well, if we get this star and this director with this budget, are we going to make our money back? And World War Z, maybe they didn't think it would play internationally as well, but I think that there's a chance we could still see this movie, because Paramount has a bunch of directors in their stable that are young, that are hungry for an opportunity. I think now the onus is going to be on whether Brad Pitt still wants to do it, and Brad Pitt's Plan B production company. Because if they're happy with the script, but Fincher's not, and then Fincher's not happy with the fact that he has limitations on the budget due to Paramount, could you bring in a director that would solve all of that? Remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, Michelle McLaren, right? She's that Cowboy Ninja Viking thing didn't.
That's true.
Right? So Michelle's a bit. I would go get Michelle right now and start talking about the possibility of doing a smaller budget World War Z movie. You don't need Brad Pitt. It's about the zombies. That's what's selling it. So make it in another place. Like figure out something else that's going on that you can put that into. People talking about a Quiet Place sequel. I proposed months ago on Movie Talk, you set it in a whole other country. And it's still happening all over the world, so set it in a whole other country. It doesn't have to be the John Krasinski story. It could be anybody. So same thing with World War Z. This is happening all over the world, so you can totally cast it differently and go forward with that. That's an exciting thing to me. And there's no way David Fincher was in pre-production, as intelligent and detailed a director as he is, there's no way he didn't have something to rival that zombie wall in his head while, mapped out. Because if they were already picking places and they already had a budget and they already had like a 5-month location shoot planned out, that tells you he was knee deep into what he wanted this look to be of the film.
I hope we're going to get like a designer going on Instagram in a few months. Like, here's what we were going to do, because I'd like to see it.
In the chat room, Justin Towns agrees with Haleigh, saying that the book is great.
Yes.
My last question, then we'll move to our last story, is, Haleigh, as the host of The Witching Hour, I know you and Perry delve into horror very remarkably well, so every week. Is the appetite for a zombie movie, is it the same place it was 6 years ago when we were already into a couple seasons of The Walking Dead and we had a fair amount of zombie movies? Do you think that the appetite has changed or lessened? I mean, we get Zombieland 2 coming out. I feel like that because there's such a comedic element to that, that almost is a different genre than what we would get with the World War Z. So do we still want zombie movies?
I don't know. It's an interesting question, and I think about it actually a lot because when I was really coming up and becoming a hardcore film nerd, that was during this zombie boom of the early 2000s where we had a ton of them. And that's, the first Zombieland arrived on the heels of that, sort of encapsulated that new movement in zombies. World War Z was an outlier a little bit because it was a good number of years after that trend. Like you said, after a couple seasons of The Walking Dead, which I do think kind of killed the zombie genre as we know it for a while.
It would have been season 2, maybe the most boring season of Walking Dead.
Yeah. So I don't know that there's a hunger for zombies yet, but I think that something like Zombieland 2 could spark it back up again, could restart the trend. And if that's a huge success, then maybe that's when this moves forward with a smaller director or something. But I do think about this a lot. We still get zombie movies, but they're very different now. They're like emotional stories set within an apocalypse that have very few actual zombies in them. It's like I think it was Vulture called them like emo zombie movies or something.
Emo zombie.
Yeah.
I like the Schwarzenegger one.
That would
Maggie.
Yes.
You're right.
That's one of them.
That was good.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm talking about. There are all these character dramas within zombie films that aren't actually zombie movies. But I think that if one comes along and does it really well again, then people will want to see more.
Zombies always want to eat brains, Rocha. Do you want zombie movies?
Yeah, I mean, I've been getting back into them through foreign markets, like the Night Train to Busan. I finally saw that a few months ago, and then Kingdom. I saw a trailer for Kingdom the other day on Netflix, and I'm like, oh, I got to see this series. Set in feudal times, I think, and then zombies are coming out of the water where they had buried or thrown, chains around people and put them into the water.
They're eating all our serfs.
Yeah, there we go. So to me, I'm like, that's such an unusual place to put zombies in feudal Japan. I think it's Japan or Korea down in that time. Like, oh, this is interesting. So I think the taste for zombie movies or zombie content will always be there because of what zombies represent in a social aspect, but also in a fear aspect. This idea of the undead, I think that'll always be there. It's just going to need like inventive, interesting directors or creators and writers to bring new stories that are zombie related to life.
We're going to save some time for your live Twitter questions at the end of this show, so go ahead and start tweeting us right now at Collider with Video. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk, and then at the end we'll have a quick announcement. Before we get to all of that, there's an article that came out in the Hollywood Reporter today that we wanted to highlight because it mentions the other side of the Disney acquisition of Fox. The Disney-Fox merger, it's exciting because maybe we get Wolverine in as soon as Avengers Endgame. But the downside to it, as the THR article noted today, is that as many or possibly as little as 4,000 employees are going to get laid off as a result of this merger. This is particularly because there's a lot of overlapping jobs between Disney and Fox, particularly in the worlds of marketing, in publicity, sales, acquisitions, those kind of things. Disney has people that do that, and they acquire a lot of stuff. So what's going to happen to people at those same jobs at Fox? Well, they may be out of work, and it's something that I wanted to highlight simply because we don't always think about that kind of things, and some estimates have that 4,000 number reaching 5,000 to 10,000 when all is said and done. So look, I'll be honest with you. Fox was not a healthy company when Disney acquired it because they were bleeding money. They were considering bankruptcy at various points in their recent history. And this is no one person's fault that we have to lose all these jobs because Disney's acquiring it. Disney thinks that they can rehabilitate some of these properties and maybe give more people work down the road. But, Rocha, it is a very scary prospect to think that, look, we get our movies and we're excited about all these things under one house, but when you consider the monopolistic aspect of what Disney has been doing, it's causing a lot of job loss. I don't know if those jobs would have stayed had Fox remained independent. It seems like Fox was willing to sell itself to somebody. They found a very willing bidder in Disney, but those jobs are going to be lost.
Yeah, after the initial excitement of this merger dies down because of the characters we might be getting now all under the banner, I think this is the reality of the situation. I have a couple of friends who work over at Fox. One is an executive at Fox. We've spoken about this, in person and text as recently as today when this was put on the Movie Talk article. And what they tell me is this feeling of fear that permeates the walls and the feeling of like not knowing what's going to happen, getting the emails that say, no, everything's going to be fine. This is Bob Iger telling you we won't, this is the way we're changing the company to be blah, blah, blah. But then you hear the news that, look, they're only going to release like 4 or 5 films under the Fox banner when they had been releasing more than that before. This idea of trying to compete with streaming services, who's going to get involved in it, who's not going to get involved in it, who is surplus to needs depending on departments and all this kind of thing. And I think what's interesting about the articles, they spoke about how Disney hasn't consumed a studio. They've consumed other properties, other things of that nature, but they haven't consumed a studio. So this is a whole new ballgame that they don't have a blueprint on how to go about it. So to me, there's a lot more carnage here that's going to be coming in the days and months ahead. And it's unfortunate for a lot of those people who are going to lose jobs. But the severance packages do seem fair from what we read in the article. In the end, though, if you can't find another job past the severance package, that's where the fear really creeps in.
Yeah, and Haleigh, we've seen a number of high-level executives at Fox have already left to take other jobs at places like Netflix, which, as we were reporting on as early as this week, that Netflix appears to be positioned to take that 6th major studio block in Hollywood. But Fox losing not only itself to Disney, but also all of these jobs. How does that hit you?
Oh man, it's a bummer. If you guys didn't read the full article, it's very interesting, but it's like the most depressing read. I've kind of always been the person who's like, ever since this was first announced, like, yeah, it's cool that the X-Men can be with the Avengers, but this is a bummer thing for a lot of people, and it's a weird, very dramatic shift for the industry that we'll probably be talking about and figuring out the repercussions of like 5 years from now. And when it comes to like how it's going to affect the release schedule, things like that you mentioned, you know, we heard recently that New Mutants could go to Hulu because Disney will also have control of Hulu now.
Right.
These are all kinds of weird distribution strategies that we probably will not have seen before from Disney that are going to be very surprising, especially with Disney Plus coming along at the same time. Honestly, how do I feel about it? It makes me very anxious, Mark. It makes me sad, and it makes me anxious and curious and nervous. So my mental health is great today. Thanks for asking.
Well, it's something that, and look, I'm as guilty of this as anybody, is that you forget to think about when the bottom line is we get this property acquired by them. We're all worried about, oh, well, is Deadpool still going to be rated R? Are we still going to get an Alien or a Predator reboot? Let's also just remember that these are people with jobs who may not have jobs for much longer because of this acquisition. So we get our art, we get our entertainment, and it's as spoon-fed to us these days as it ever has been, but that does come at a cost. And when everything is united under one house, it may seem hunky-dory from the outside, but there's a lot of people that did not get into that house. And so I think it's worth noting on a show like Movie Talk that for all the celebration, and trust me, on Movie Talk, we get very excited about a lot of characters in one movie and different team-ups and all these things happening. We should remember that there are people who are not so excited because they fear for their very job. We're going to move on to your live Twitter questions. But before we do that, I do want to remind you all about all the cool programming we have tomorrow on Collider, an all-new episode of the Riley Roundtable. It seems like that guy does a show every day.
He does.
Mark Riley is working a little too hard. Maybe he's doing it because he's putting the blinders on and he just doesn't want to acknowledge that Man of Steel 2 isn't happening. We're not sure. Maybe they'll talk about that on tomorrow's Riley Roundtable. We also have Collider Live. Now it's 5 days a week, so you can tune in at 10 a.m. in the PT. Jedi Council is also going to be on Movie Talk, of course, at 4 p.m. And the Collider Games podcast is also going to be tomorrow. Full stack day, as we usually do day in and day out around these parts here at Collider Video. Let's move on to some live Twitter questions. And because I've seen so many people pitching their version of a Man of Steel 2, because we talked about it earlier, I'm gonna give a highlight to one, and that would be our friend Sky Patterson. Great fan, Sky. Wants to know what we think about Patty Jenkins and Taylor Sheridan teaming up. So you have a director, writer, team up. They're both collaborating on the story. And the story would be Cavill returns as Superman. And it's Superman and Supergirl battling a common enemy. Do we have a green light? Keep in mind, Sky loves the show. Do not lose a steady view.
I love the combination because of Sheridan's scripts are really great and raw and emotionally unsettling. So this would be a new kind of, and Man of Steel is already dour as hell, and kind of darker than the Richard Donner version. So you go with Taylor Sheridan. This is an interesting choice. Of course, Patty Jenkins, green light with everything, no problem there. But I think if you're going to put the Supergirl and Superman together and explore their relationship, you got to throw Brainiac as the villain in there. It just makes all the sense of the world because the connections he's had with both. Plus, if you look at Justice Society of America, what happens with Brainiac 5, all these kinds of things. So there's a lot of history between the Superman family and Brainiac. So that would be, to me, the way to go.
I think it's a fascinating idea. Taylor Sheridan would never have entered my mind ever for this kind of thing. But he does such a good job of tapping into this sort of old-fashioned Americana that feels very much like the Kent Farm type of lifestyle. So I'm into it. Yes, green light, do it. I'll watch it. I love it.
Oh, there you go, Scott. I mean, what am I going to be, the Debbie Downer? No, I'll green light your Man of Steel 2 movie. It's very exciting. Speaking of exciting news, we just got this tweet from Debbie Schechter, who's another great fan, and I've seen this a couple of different places, and we wanted to highlight that our very own Jeff Snyder has some late-breaking news here, and that is that Scott Teems is in talks right now to write the script for Halloween 2. Did you think we weren't getting a Halloween sequel?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, we're getting a Halloween sequel, and it might be written by Scott Teems, who has a number of credits on his resume, not just he's actually directed movies. He's not in talks to direct. He's not in talks for anything but to write the script at this point. So he wrote the screenplay for his own film that he directed, The Evening Sun. He's done a bunch of episodes of Rectify, of Narcos. I think the most recent episode he wrote one of those. So just the fact that we're getting Scott Teems, Haleigh, or the fact that we have a Halloween 2 moving forward in production, you getting excited for a new one?
Oh, yeah. There was never a doubt that it was going to happen, really, unless there was some impossible deal that Blumhouse couldn't make for some reason. But even I think he just did a round of interviews for Happy Death Day where he was like, I'm trying. It's great. I don't know what to make of the writing situation. It's interesting. It sounded like when Halloween came out that David Gordon Green really wanted to do a sequel. Now it's sounding like maybe he's not going to. That's an interesting switch and change in the creative team that I would be interested to eventually learn the behind-the-scenes story of, if that's what comes to pass. I don't really know this guy's writing work that well, but if Blumhouse trusts him, they tend to have pretty good judgment.
Blumhouse tapping the writer. Rocha, is this one of those studios where the fact that they have interest in a writer is enough to give you interest in the movie they're writing?
Oh, yeah. I think Blumhouse has a lot of cachet right now with a lot of film goers. So, sure, absolutely take a chance. My concern is I hope they don't retcon this one out. If they go 30 years down the road, go, you know what? None of these other sequels happened either. So we're going to start from this one like they did this time around.
Why not?
I don't know. All that wasted effort and it ends up being retconned out. But I like this idea. And the David Gordon Green thing is an interesting point, Haleigh. Did they decide look, some of the reviews weren't as well as we would like to. Maybe let's move on from here, or maybe they heard David Gordon Green's pitch and were like, I don't think that's the direction we want to go in. I don't know, but Blumhouse, as I said at the beginning here, has a lot of cachet, so I trust their decision-making process with something like this.
Gabriel James DeGenova says, why isn't Riley on this episode? He wants to see his Man of Steel 2 pitch. He's out in the alley yelling at anybody that'll hear right now. We're sure his dog has heard the latest rewrites that he has, so more on that as it develops. Our last question is from Better Call Maul, and Maul says, Avatar 2 is set for December 2020, and Avatar 3 is set for December 2021. Would Warner Brothers release Aquaman 2 against an Avatar? And if so, this is my add-on. And if so, who is winning the box office? Is it Avatar from way back in the dark ages of the 2009s to Aquaman, which just made $1 billion worldwide? What say y'all?
I think that would be foolish to try to release it at the same time as Avatar, because
as Avatar or Aquaman?
As I would think it'd be foolish for Aquaman to release at the same time as Avatar, because those dates have kind of been staked out for a while now. They could change, sure, but both are such bright fantasy films that they would absolutely be competing for the same audience. And yes, Avatar is older, but it's still the box office GOAT. Like, nobody has beat, 2.8 million or something it made worldwide. I don't know if the interest is still holding up, but I do know that the one person in my life who loves Avatar is ready to go. Has not changed.
John Rocha, you weren't the biggest fan of Aquaman,
I don't know if the person has.
The movie did do very well.
It did.
I know that you can be a bottom line dollars a cents guy. You're shopping at Trader Joe's, for crying out loud.
I mean, come on.
So what's doing better? Which one should back off of their release date first?
I would. If Aquaman was going to do that, I think that would be a mistake as well. I think James Cameron and Avatar is a 1-2 punch that's really tough. No disrespect to James Wan and what he's able to do, but Cameron's been making billion-dollar films for quite some time. James Wan just got here with one of those. So, James knows what to do. And look, something like Alita that's a bit uneven, there's no way he didn't have a lot of say in the production value and the look of that film, which is really the selling point for me. And so I would love to see what he does with Avatar. And my own personal thing, I have an ex-girlfriend who's one of the body doubles for all those movies. It would be nice.
We talk about this guy has some sort of personal.
I got tentacles, man. I got tentacles. Anyway, I think this is the thing. At the end of the day, is I just feel like it would be dangerous for Aquaman to do that. And why would you? Why make the fans choose? Why not let us enjoy both instead of having to choose one or the other?
You can go see both. There's no law that says, especially for you, because
people won't though. You can't really afford it on the same weekend. Most average moviegoers can't be like, I have $40 to go see movies.
Not all to shop at Trader Joe's
guys are
there,
throwing
Mark.
the Whole Foods thing back in my face.
Oh, Whole Foods,
We're
right?
not all billionaires, Mark.
Yeah, Mark.
I don't like it, but I do like changing John Rocha's Schmoedown nickname from the Outlaw to the Octopus because he's got tentacles everywhere. Well, I promised y'all an announcement, and it may come as a surprise to some of you. It's certainly bittersweet for me. See, we have tens of thousands of people that watch the show every day, so I'm sure dozens of you will be disappointed with the news that tomorrow is going to be my last day as your host of Collider Movie Talk. I can say this without hesitation. It's been an honor to captain your ship for the last 2 odd years. I can't even remember when I was able to take over for the great John Campea, but I will first of all assure you all of this. That Movie Talk is in great hands going forward. There's a lot of different iterations that are being talked about right now, but rest assured, Movie Talk is safe and sound and in the best place it's ever been right here at Collider Studios. Now, the reason for my leaving, it just boils down to the fact that I am a very hardworking guy despite how many naps I take, and I've had a few breaks go my way, and there's a lot of opportunities that I want to explore, not the least of which is my upcoming stand-up comedy special taping, touring, doing Schmoedowns, doing a lot of other things that I have in the works right now. And so when I talked to the brass last week about Movie Talk, I think we came to the mutual agreement that it's best that tomorrow be my last day. I was extended an invitation to come back anytime to Collider, and I would certainly enjoy taking y'all up on that. Maybe we come up with a project in the future. Maybe that could be one of these opportunities that I'm mentioning. But I did want to let y'all know and try not to surprise you too much, but I see the chat room now and you guys are being very kind to me, and I do want to say thanks to Haleigh Foutch because you won't be on the show tomorrow, but thank you for being such a great panelist.
Oh, thank you.
I want to thank John Rocha
Thank you.
for being a great panelist. You here tomorrow?
I am here tomorrow.
All right, so you knew about all this.
I did.
Thank you. Well, this is
And a six-pack of Coors, man.
Six-pack of Coors Light.
Had to have it.
This is, no offense, Wendy, but I think I'm taking the beer before the cake. But this is very flattering. I didn't expect any of this. I mean, I thank you guys so much. This entire team here at Collider. It feels not giving them enough praise to call them a team because this really is a family, as you can tell by the birthday cake and the six-pack they just got me. I didn't really want this to be like a Kobe Bryant 82 game farewell tour. I just prefer the Tim Duncan model of, hey, this is my last game. Thanks. I'm going to be out, but I will be back tomorrow, and I will say goodbye to y'all at that time. But once again, I reiterate how great all the talent that I get to be surrounded with. They elevate my level of mere mediocrity, and that extends to everyone behind the camera, not the least of which is Mr. Adam Smith. Adam, give me a yap. There he is. Adam Smith, I'm sure, is going to help me drink these beers as soon as we get off camera. We'll throw it to the wide to say goodbye. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Collider Movie Talk each and every day. I will see y'all tomorrow with Rocha and Perry, and we'll say goodbye. And Movie Talk is going to continue to ship on from there, as will I, but you have not seen the last of me. Until tomorrow, tune in tomorrow, 4 p.m. in the PT. I'm going to try to blow these candles out without setting the studio on fire. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.